How's it going, everyone? We are back with more RTA League racing in the Formula V's, this time for round 6 at Cadwell Park. So if you missed the last video at Knockhill, it was really a story of what could have been around there, so make sure you check that out before we get into this one. But looking at the standings after our trip to Scotland, you can see moved down a spot into 15th place, 112 points, so still close to a good few drivers up ahead, but the goal of a top 10 by the end of the season is getting further and further out of reach, you think. And then up at the top, Dylan McClemmons still leading the way over Conor Mealy, with Travis now moving into the top 3. So this one, Cadwell's not a track I have driven before, so not one I was particularly looking forward to. So hopefully we can still have some good races. And with that said, let's head into qualifying. So in qualifying here now, right at the start, and you can see a bit of pandemonium with everybody wanting to get out on track at the very start, because you do really want to have a slipstream around here. Unfortunately for me, I kind of ruined my chance of getting slipstream in the pack, just going for a spin and then getting driven into again. Just going to look at a replay of this here. I think that I was coming back on the track pretty safely, and then Dara Halley, even if I wasn't trying to get back on the track, he was off the track when he hit me, so didn't really make much of a difference what I did there. Just a bit unfortunate and a bit, yeah, just a bit of a silly thing for myself to be doing, not even on a flying lap, just on the out lap in qualifying. But on the flying lap here now, through the opening few corners, flat out since the exit of the final corner. A little bit of a lift here through the right hander, probably the most important corner on the track, because you want to get a good exit to set you up along this long straight, which is the one you want to have DRS from, or not DRS, slipstream from, because you do lose a lot of speed going up the hill if you don't have the toe. Heading into the first real braking point of the track then, his tricky right hander, you want to use all the track on the exit, and then you're flat out once again until you head into the very tricky chicane. Opening it up, just a little bit of a lift through the first part, a good bit of a lift through the second, because I didn't really get the line right through the opening part. Then downhill into a very difficult hairpin to get the braking right for. I found it very easy to lock up, but getting a good run through there, and now heading into the technical part of this track. Turning in and cutting the apex, so you can try and open up this right hander then up over the hill to carry as much speed as you can into the final S section. Cutting the first part, a little bit of a lift for the second, flat out through the third part, and then heading into the final corner. Another tricky braking zone, not much track on the exit and very easy again off track warning. Into the final corner then, not flat out, you have to lift a bit and then get on the power as early as you can onto the pitch straight, coming across the line to set a 1 minute 40.6. So not a bad lap there by any means, and I did try and go once again, but you can see here just running off the track and didn't have time to go for another lap after that. So that was the end of my qualifying session. Finished in 10th place, just 1.6 seconds off Dylan McClemmons on pole. Don't know how many poles he's after taking this season now, but it's quite a few. And yeah, I don't really think there was much more I could have done in terms of getting any better positions in this one. 5/10 was the gap up to Jordan Kelly, so I think 10th was the best I could hope for, and hopefully we can try and make up a couple more places in the first race. So as the lights come on then for this first race around Cadwell Park, the green lights come on and we get a pretty good start, pretty even compared to everyone up ahead, and yeah, just trying to get into the slipstream now of Jordan Kelly. I do pull out of it to have a look down the inside, because I thought I had a bit of a run, which I do, now getting the slipstream off of Dara, but it's my first real time going around here in dirty air. Didn't have much practice in the dirty air before this, so getting used to that as well. And as we head on to the long back straight, I suppose, had to pull out of the slipstream of Jordan briefly there because I was closing in a bit too much, and that's given Ryan Kuhn the opportunity to go up my inside into turn 4. He gets that move done. Jordan going a bit wide there on the exit, and I decide to try and follow Ryan through, try and get his slipstream through these flat out right-handers and into the chicane. Then I was just ahead of Jordan. Luckily for me, he backed out of that. On the exit, have a big snap of oversteer there. Tyres might not be up to temperature, and into the hairpin, braking deep. I think Jordan had actually backed out of that, and me going a bit deep has given him the chance to get the switch back. We're now side by side heading into turn 11, and I decided to back out of that. Just didn't want to be side by side through there, and Jordan had the better line with the inside. So eventful opening lap to this race so far, and now just want to try and settle back into a rhythm through this final sector. Have a bit of a lock up there, luckily don't run into the back of Jordan. Lost one place so far, down in P11 I do believe, and now focusing on trying to get a good run on Jordan through the opening corners, so I can have hopefully a run up this back straight, which I do get a good run on Jordan, but David Prunty's got a better run on me, and he had the overlap there, so I wasn't able to look down Jordan's inside. But luckily for me, Jordan kind of covered that from David, and it meant he was kind of boxed in, so I was able to keep that place. Skipping ahead then to the end of that lap, an incident in the second to last corner. I think I was going wide anyway. It just happened to work out that meant I was able to avoid that incident. Myself and Jordan getting through there pretty unscathed. It did mean that I was able to close up the gap a bit and into turn 1, have the run, and I go for the move. Getting it done before we even get into turn 2 on that occasion, and luckily for me, Jordan wasn't able to fight back on the next straight. But later on in that lap, into the turn 11-12 section, I get it completely wrong, and luckily Jordan, he did get a good run, but I was able to stay ahead for now. And just looking in the mirror, you can pretty much see what's going to happen. Jordan gets a good run, and I was kind of a bit put off by looking in my mirrors too much, and into turn 3, just dipping a rear wheel into the grass, losing the back end and being sent across the grass. Luckily kept it going pretty well, but losing a lot of time there and a position to David Prunty. And see here on the replay, just ever so slightly dipping a wheel into the grass, which at a very highly loaded corner like that one, any bit of something like that, losing a bit of grip, is going to cause you some sort of issue. But we skip ahead then, on board with David Prunty now, and you can see I did get a run, but I decided to pretty much back out of it because I didn't think I was going to get alongside enough into the braking zone, which did allow Evan Dalton to get pretty close, but luckily he wasn't able to send it down my inside when I was taking it a bit easy. And then we cut on to the next lap, the final lap, and my patience the lap before has paid dividends now, because on pretty much the final opportunity in this race one, we pull alongside David and into turn 4. We get the move done down the inside, leaving room on the exit, but now the right-handers are in my favour and we secure that position and that move. I didn't make it easy for myself though through turn 11 and turn 12. Don't get a great run, and David does get a run on me. You can see here a little bit of an overlap, but luckily he wasn't close enough and I was able to hold on to that. Up ahead, Conor Melia off the track there in the third to last corner. Right in front, Travis had some sort of issue in turn 11 and 12 as well, so we closed the gap to him. I don't know if he has damage to the car, but unfortunately we're not close enough to be able to get him on the run to the line. It just comes up too quick, and we finish race 1 in P7. Very good result there, considering I didn't feel overly comfortable, and you could even see a couple of times I made a good few mistakes, so wasn't the cleanest race, but luckily we managed to get a good result, up 3 places. Brandon McCaughton up 6 to take the win. Kevin Joyce up in 2nd place, a great result for Kevin there. He's usually down around where I am, so nice to see him doing well. And then pole sitter Dylan McClemens in 3rd place. So very good first race. Hopefully we can carry this momentum through to the second race. And as the red lights come on for this second race, they then go off and the green lights come on and get a very good start compared to Travis on our right hand side, and we managed to pull ahead of him, thankfully, and because that means I'm able to pull into the slipstream once again of Jordan Kelly on this opening lap, and hopefully this time I'm able to maybe make a move on Jordan by the end of lap 1. Into turn 3 we don't get the greatest run. You might have noticed in the mirror Travis getting very close on the run between turn 2 and 3. I felt very inconsistent with the exit I was getting onto this straight, and as you can see it's costing me a bit here into turn 4. Then had to check up a bit with the cars up ahead braking, and Travis took that opportunity to dive down the inside of myself and Jordan. So very good start for him, not the best for me, but we're still facing the right way, which is the most important thing. Through the chicane then, we're going to jump on board with Connor Mealy behind, because Connor gets it a bit wrong here, just clipping my rear tyre and sending him off into the grass. Luckily I didn't get any suspension damage because of that or anything, and in my mirror at that time it looked a lot worse than it did with Connor's on board, but this is going to look a lot worse for me. Into turn 11 I was a little bit distracted and thinking about that little incident with Connor. Missed my braking point by very little, and it's had big consequences there, having to wait for the entire grid to go back through so I can rejoin safely. And yeah, honestly that was pretty much the end of my race here, out of the hairpin again, getting it a bit wrong. And I was trying to keep going up the hill here, but the car just wouldn't go into gear, so I had to reverse back down to get back onto the track, which isn't ideal, but in the end it didn't cost me any more than the incidents on the first lap did, and just trundled around for the rest of that race then to come home in P15. Over 45 seconds off Dylan, recovering from race 1 back up to where he usually is, up in first place. Travis, who started right in front of me, up in second, so he had a great race there, and Dermot Toomey in third. Kevin Joyce having another great race, up in fourth place, so he seems to have a pretty good handle around here. And yeah, for myself, hopefully we can recover from that disappointing race 2 and finish off round 6 with a good race 3. So for the final time then, from the furthest back I've been on the grid here in Cadwell Park, the lights go green and we get a good start, getting the jump on Ross Wheatley and Evan Dalton, taking a break from the commentary box, joining us on the grid here for this one, which is great to see. And honestly I was a bit surprised to see the pace he had. I wasn't expecting him to be as quick as he was, so fair play to Evan for that. But back to this race here now, through turn 3, going very wide there, which definitely isn't ideal. It's going to mean that I'm not as close as I would like to be to the cars up ahead, but maybe that was for the better, as there's a big incident in turn 4 and I think 2 or 3 cars off the track there. Up ahead, Dara O'Connor going a bit slowly. I thought about trying to make a move, but this part of the track isn't very conducive to trying to make an overtake. Just taking it nice and easy, hoping to get through the hairpin without any sort of incidents on this occasion, which I do manage to do. Still not taking it very quick, being very cautious, and into this next turn definitely going to take it more cautious than I did on the previous first lap. Braking nice and early, taking it nice and easy and making sure I get through safely. But on the exit of turn 12, have a big snap on the rear end. Luckily managed to save it and keep the car out of the barrier, and don't lose too much time cutting across the grass there. Then tyres probably had a bit of a spike in temperature there, so not the grip I was expecting. But yeah, luckily we're still in this race and pointing the right way. Lap 2 then, heading up the hill. Niall Leahy had a good run on me there. Cover to the inside line into turn 4, breaking his lazy there, leaving him room on the exit. And now with the turns going to the right, we're able to get past there. Dylan McClemens now right behind me, had a bit of an overlap. Dylan was one of the cars involved in that incident on the first lap, and he's already caught back up, which yeah, just shows the talent that Dylan does have and why he is dominantly leading the championship here and why he's always up in the top 3 pretty much. Run into the mountain section then, turn 11, turn 12, Dylan right up behind me. Luckily he has the patience to not go for a move there, and yeah, see in the mirror he had a bit of a moment there, just probably caught out by how slow I was going, which yeah, it just shows that I wasn't overly comfortable, especially in that section of the track. Now heading to the end of lap 2, there was a car off and then we managed to get past Dave Collier, couldn't think of his surname there for a second. It was kind of unfortunate that he had to come into the pits there because it meant I didn't have a slipstream and Dylan was able to get past into turn 1. I was pretty happy with just letting him go there, try and follow him for as long as I can, but someone else that wants to follow Dylan is Brandon McCotton, and out of turn 3 he gets a great run, and unfortunately for me Dylan is giving him the slipstream, so there's not really too much I can do and just have to try and fight it down the inside into turn 4, brake and try and keep it on the apex. We make a bit of contact and you can see in the mirror Brandon has gone off the track there because of that, and we're going to look at a replay straight away. You can see here in slow motion I keep it pretty tight to the apex. I do start to drift out a small bit and we make contact there, which is netcode, and then the final contact which sends him off the track. Ultimately it was a netcode incident, but yeah, I feel like it was more so my fault there. If anyone was to blame, it was me. And yeah, Brandon didn't report that, so I didn't get a penalty, and honestly probably a bit 50-50 whether I would have got a penalty for that, so luckily managed to get away with that, which is good. Not going to get away with this though. Up ahead David Prunty was after getting past, and through the chicane he just lost the rear end, and there's not really much I could have done there. On board with myself now for the replay, and you can see I'm going to stop it here now. This is when David starts to lose the rear end, and at this point you kind of think you maybe be able to save it, but unfortunately it wasn't. And probably about here when I realised that he wasn't going to be saving and he was going for a spin, and there's not too much you can do here. Too much speed to try and cut to the inside. I kind of expected the car to drift out to the outside, so you kind of have to just pick a line and hope that you avoid the car. I picked to stay on the racing line, and unfortunately David's car doesn't spin either direction, and we end up just hitting into the side of him, which is unfortunate. And for the rest of this race then pretty much I was fairly wounded. I was losing a lot of speed on the straights. I was losing 2 or 3 tenths a lap I think just on the straight from turn 3 to turn 4, and more than throughout the rest of the lap I would say. We caught up to Niall Lahey. He made a mistake on this final lap, but not a big enough mistake that I was able to get close enough to get past. And as we come around the final corner for the final time, we're going to finish off what looked like it was going to be a very good round here in Cadwell Park with a pretty disappointing P12. So yeah, it was P12 then, up 3 places from where I started, pretty much all because of other people's incidents and getting free positions. Travis recovering from a disappointing race 1 up into the win for race 3. Peter Brett in 2nd place, and Kevin Joyce getting another podium, so I think Kevin will want us to be racing around Cadwell every week from now on. And what that means for the championship standings is that Dylan McClemens still leads the way, 80 points over Conor Melia with 180 points left up for grabs, so it looks pretty comfortable for Dylan up at the top. Travis still there in 3rd place. For myself, up into 14th place, 151 points. And yeah, I think the top 10 is probably out of reach at this stage. 58 points to Brandon McCotton. And looking at Kevin Joyce, 78 points, so the most of anyone in this round. If he keeps up this sort of form for the final 2 rounds, he'll definitely be one that's difficult to catch. But just have to play race by race, see what happens, and hopefully get some good results in the final 6 races to round out a good season. But that is it for this one. Hope you did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the final 2 videos of this RTA season. But until the next one, thanks for watching and see you then.